Hi there, and welcome to a panel that I am calling Kitchen in the Time of COVID, which of course is not its real name. So, the things that we know, for example, is the kitchen is the community center of the house, COVID or not. And over the past 3 decades or so, the kitchen has migrated from this totally utilitarian fluorescent light, formica counter, linoleum floor kind of a place into something that, in fact, is unquestionably the most important and certainly the most used room in the house. It goes from a place where meals are prepared and eaten, of course, and now it's become the classroom and the homework room, the media center, the telephone room. Honestly, it is now not only practical, but it's also experiential. So, we have invited 3 designers to talk about the kitchens they're designing today and what things are necessary. I mean, we know generally what they are, but we're going to talk about them in depth. So we've got Catherine Ireland, whom I've known forever. And Catherine, of course, has had several really interesting careers prior to her very successful career as an interior designer. So she's been a clothing designer, she's been an actress and a filmmaker, and I personally can vouch for the fact that she is a hostess extraordinaire and she seems to know people everywhere. And just as an aside, I can tell you about the night that we followed her all over Venice in our high heels, trying to find the house of a friend, some palazzo somewhere. Anyway, I still laugh when I think about it.
Venice, can we say it was Venice, Italy, not Venice, California?
Oh, yes. It was Venice, Italy, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it was great fun. But Catherine, in fact, is known for her very charming interiors, casual and lighthearted. They always seem to have lovely prints, some vintage finds, and they're really a true reflection of the people who live in the houses that she decorates. And I'm sure many of you are totally envious of her fabulous house in the south of France. I personally am, for sure, and the glorious lunches she serves on her beautiful terrace. So next we have Ryan Sagian he is part of a really close-knit community of Persian Jews living in LA. That felt so important to me because I've never known anyone a Persian. I don't
Oh,
think.
well, there's always a first.
And I'm so happy
name.
about that. So the thing
Love
that
it.
I think is kind of cool about Ryan, in addition to his really amazing work, is that he has built his business, and he can do this because he's 12 and a half, basically on Instagram. It's way out of my league, but I think it's quite a remarkable thing. What we do know is that Ryan draws on Hollywood glamour for inspiration, Tony Duquette, and then Dorothy Draper as well. So I call him a young up and comer. And so we've got lots of years to watch Ryan develop his practice. And Allison Pickard actually joins us from San Francisco and Chicago. And what she says is something that I actually believe totally and completely, and that thoughtful architecture can't exist without great interiors, and the reverse. Great interior design can't exist without really thoughtful architecture. Hers is what I would call an eclectic style that's both layered and luxurious. And her work has been published in just countless magazines. The other thing I thought was sort of interesting about Allison was that there was in the header of her website something called frippery. I went, frippery? What on earth is that? So I went poking around, and Allison, it turns out, is an incredible jewelry maker. She makes these beautiful pieces of sort of organic gold shapes, and there is always some kind of natural gem that is in it or hanging off of it. Anyway, I'm going to encourage you to have a look because it was, I got a little lost in there because
my
it was
God,
really stellar.
Thanks, Barbara.
Yeah.
It's frippery.
What is it?
Frippery. It's like something unnecessary, something that nobody needs, but perfect nonetheless, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And what you called it, or at least was on the website, it was called rough cut glamour, and I just loved it. So with that introduction, we're just charging off into questions here. So I'm going to ask each of you, and I can start with Allison because she's at the top of my screen, is what is the first question one should answer when planning a kitchen? And Allison, yours is on the screen right this moment.
Well, I think that the first thing that you would answer is like, are you going to cook in this or are you going to just drink in this? Because I do
I've done a
think
lot of that here.
Those are two different designs. So I think that we really take into consideration like the family that lives there and like what is happening here. Like, is this like a rambunctious family of 6 that love to like make pancakes on the griddle on Sunday mornings together? Like, that's a 60-inch range, no question, versus a 36. So, you know, there are lots of things that as you get to know, like, who is the chef? Is it the 16-year-old high schooler? Is it the mom? Is it the dad? You know, like, how are we going to live in this space? And, or like this, are we just really going to enjoy looking at the space?
yeah, this is a
Although
look at
totally
kitchen.
functional, this kitchen is, it's like a part of a much larger open penthouse in Pacific Heights. So you have to take that into consideration too. Like, it's not just for the utility, it has to be beautiful too.
So Ryan, what are you going to tell me?
I am obsessed with your bar stools in here, and that hood is insane.
Oh,
Thank you.
So beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, what were you asking?
So the question is, you know, what is the first question you're going to ask your client when you're designing a kitchen?
Oh, I always ask, are you a cook? Are you actually going to cook in there? Or are you just going to have it be a little showpiece and you just want it to always look pretty? That would help us in the selection of the countertops and such. I always ask if they plan on dining formally or casually, whether they want to have a counter table, whether they want a breakfast room. Really the same things you were saying, Allison, about how their lifestyles are and how busy they are and what they're going to do. And are they entertainers? Are they smaller? Do they have a lot of kids, a bunch of family members? Do they have visitors? As much info as they can get before we actually start getting into the conceptual design phase.
Beautiful. So Catherine, the entertainer of all time, the souffle maker and the aga person. What do you?
I think I don't really know people that don't cook. So, and I don't think people that hire me are not hiring me just to set a stage. So I think they come to me because they know I know how to entertain, I enjoy it. And I also I think the kitchen is such an important piece of real estate that, as you can see in the photograph right here, this is a house in Notting Hill. It's a double wide, it's wide this way. So it's rather like being in a country house. I spent 2 weeks here. And it's the dining room, and it's the kitchen. So I think today we do eat in our kitchen a lot. I also think, unfortunately, we haven't got the reverse shot of this room, but there's a great cauldron over the fireplace, you know, and quite often your best piece of art belongs in the kitchen. I always say to people, they go, oh, that belongs in the living room. I said, listen, it belongs where it fits. It belongs where it looks best. And as you can see, there it is. There's the other end of that kitchen. And, you know, it's every day. This is my best girlfriend's house, and she's got 3 boys, so rather like me. She's always whipping up something at the stove. So I think the people that I work with are people that understand about cooking and entertaining and eating. And as you can see from this, if you flip back to the other image, you know, there aren't any built-ins apart from the long piece at the back where we've got a farmhouse sink, and then next to it, a few down, is I think it's probably a Viking. The smeg, it's not actually a smeg, it's another make. The fridge is at the other end. But I like to try and treat kitchens as rooms. And I think we may have a shot of my farmhouse in France here, which I've got the same thing going on. That's actually in Santa Monica. That's my house. I have a 2-bedroom house with 2 kitchens. Well, the main house has 2 bedrooms, and then I've got various buildings at the back. But this is the reason I bought this house. Was I've got this wonderful building designed by Koenig Eisenberg, who is a contemporary of Frank Gehry's. So this is one end of it, and it's got my sort of slightly formal English furniture, which came from another house. And there again, actually, if I told you all this, we built this kitchen in a day. I basically put the Aga, put the fridge, I put everything down, and my brother came in, built the boxes, and then we poured some concrete. So this was me, you know how the cobbler.
That is a typical Catherine.
It is typical because I didn't know, listen, organized designers, which all of the rest of you are, you get your cabinets done in advance, and you've got Barbara and Waterworth. Actually, I must say, if it wasn't for Laurent in West Hollywood, I don't think anyone would have a kitchen or a bathroom. But I don't know, this room, it feels like in my kitchen in the south of France. And you know what? It's a room. It's a room where we all eat, and it's got this extraordinary dining room table, which is actually, it's worth as much as most people's art is on their wall. But I don't know, it
seems to work. Well, the interesting thing is that you have all these open shelves. So I am positively crazy neat. And I don't know how I would manage open shelves. I know you all know Stephen Gambrell, and he does them really well.
Yeah.
Alice, what do you think about open shelves?
Sorry, who are you asking me?
Oh, I asked Allison.
Oh, Alison.
Oh, sorry.
Alison, wake up.
I love open shelves. I think that like it's very California. It's very casual. I think, but to your point, there are definitely people who do not want to see it. And not only that, you get into kind of like a critical, like thinking area of like, it's going to get dusty. I don't want to have to clean glassware, 1,000 times before I pull them off of the shelf. So I think that, there's definitely like a person or place for it. I think we definitely tend to use open shelves in pool houses, in beach houses, a lot more casual in nature. I think, but I love incorporating them into kitchens where you are using upper cabinets, simply because they give a really great kind of visual texture and layer.
You can do a lot of styling. I mean, believe me, I'm constantly styling. But also here's another one. This is a kitchen I did for a little guest house on the beach in Deauville. And, we've got another big kitchen, but this was just a very, very, very simple for the guests. And you know what? You've got all you're going to need in that house, and you wash them. Everything, it's about washing. You're not going to put things on shelves that are going to sit there and just get very dirty. I put things on shelves that constantly have to be used and washed and put back.
I had been thinking about open shelves myself, and then I figured I'd need to have a live-in stylist to keep it all.
Oh, Barbara, I'm sure you're incredibly good.
In the meantime, everything's behind closed doors. Goodbye and good luck. So you do much more sort of robust and modern things, Ryan. So
yeah,
I can just see that you seem to have things behind closed doors. Would you ever do open shelves, and would you recommend them?
Well, the majority of my clients are families.
I thought that was my dog. I was saying, take the dog.
I'm so sorry. Let me just make sure.
Oh my God, she's hilarious. My own house, it's all open shelves, but that's also because I don't cook, and I'm not always using my dishes. So I've got it all styled to the T with cutting boards, like some vases and everything like that. But the majority of my clients are legitimately using their kitchens every single day, 3 times a day. So they do not really like the open shelving. But ever since Pinterest and Instagram, and everybody is constantly looking at kitchens and the way they've been styled, I've been getting requests for more stylish little moments. So we've been adding open shelves in areas like just beside the sink or right in the breakfast area, spaces that they'll use more for styling and not everyday use. I am in LA, so like you said, Allison, it's a very California thing. It's very casual. So it does come up recently a lot more. And I really think it's because of social and Pinterest, all of that.
Yeah, it was interesting. I thought that there was, in fact, a photograph in this reel somewhere of a kitchen that Stephen Gambrell did. And I mean, you just love every minute of it. But I'm like, oh my God, how do you manage all of that? Anyway, Allison, tell us what the hardest part of designing a kitchen really is.
Oh, the hardest part of designing a kitchen. I hate to say this, but I kind of don't think that it's hard. It's kind of like once you do a couple of them and to Catherine's point, if you entertain regularly and you use a kitchen, which I do and I always have, it's very easy to, know where things should naturally go. And someone asked me this before, and I had said, we think about like storage in terms of what are you using to cook on heat versus what are you using to cook in heat? And then we kind of like divide and conquer that way so that like everything just makes a rational sense in terms of like, what are you reaching for? What do you need? Like the thing is on fire on the stove, like it should be right there, the thing that you need. We hosted a big fundraiser at our house, which had, we had a caterer and a chef in here. And I got the best compliment because he was like, everything was exactly where I wanted it to be. And I was like, yes, we did it. Because truly, like, that's what you need to be thinking about. And then everything else is kind of, a derivative of what's the program of the client. Like, are they classic? Are they modern? Are they preppy? Are they somewhere in between? And then that's kind of the fun stuff. Are you using metal mesh and stone and, fun colors in the lanterns, or are you keeping everything super neutral and very clean and modern? Like, I think those are the really fun things. I think for the technical, like, difficulty is paneling details. When you're concealing everything in a kitchen down to, the ice maker and the refrigerator, and you're doing complicated toe kicks and decorative elements, keeping your cabinetry, your millwork design consistent. So you honestly cannot tell the difference between a regular, cabinet door versus a dishwasher. Those are what I seriously geek out about, because if you're going to panel your refrigerator and your dishwasher and go that route, then do it, do it so that everything is in line, everything makes sense, and everything is totally tight. And those are the things that I think that, I earn my pay to do, because otherwise, there's so many things available on the market today. Go get yourself a panel dishwasher. Great, paint it.
Allison, do any of your clients still ask for stainless?
Not really. And we've been seeing so much of this cool, the Smeg and Big Chill. It's almost as if you want to see the refrigerator, then it better be something amazing, or something just, turquoise blue and, something worth note. Otherwise, it's put it away. Nobody wants to see it.
Well, I take your points very seriously about thinking about prior to installation, where are things going to go? Because this kitchen that I am in my house, simply got done. And I was busy traveling and not paying attention. And truthfully, there is barely enough room, which is fine. I'm all good about editing, that sort of thing. But there are things that are totally inconvenient. And what I seem to do, and the reason I asked the question, is that instead of having this nice, neat triangle, which people seem to love, I have a racetrack oval. I am running around my island all the time. And
we had a client one time where she was very focused on unloading the dishwasher, and everything needed to be like within reach to put away. And so we were just like tooling away, trying to get every piece of every day and glassware. And finally I just had this like moment where I'm like, you're not supposed to be able to just stand in one place and put your entire dishwasher away. And truthfully, the 5 steps it takes you to get to that cabinet is like, I mean, your Fitbits telling you good job. Like kitchens aren't necessarily supposed to be like everything is within reach, but it should have like a rational order of things to it, to your point.
So Catherine, if I said to you, I have just a little splurge money, where would you spend it?
I'd say invest in an Aga. And I'm not their North American ambassador since they were sold, but I have to tell you, it is such a great piece. It's not for everyone. If you don't like cooking, then it's pointless. But it's just, it's so reminiscent of living in the English countryside. And as I couldn't get my boys to move to the English countryside, I brought it to me. And everyone can cook on it. You can cook your eggs directly onto the hot plate. I don't know, it's a way of life. You can put your Wellington boots in the bottom left. Please, Otis, will you pick up the dog? I'm so sorry.
I'm so surprised it's not my dog, so I'm entirely grateful. Keep barking, dog.
So, I think that a stove, obviously, whether you're a great cook or not, is something that's a fabulous thing. And there you go. Whose picture is that? There's a blue Aga in the back.
Oh, so yes, this is actually Henny van Stockhausen, who is a British designer. And I love this photograph for 2 reasons. One is I love the wallpaper in the kitchen, which is so unusual.
Me too. Love wallpaper. You see, but there she's treating the kitchen like a living room.
Yeah.
It's not a kitchen. It's a living room. And there she's got, look at the great mixture, that wonderful old English farmhouse table with some Gustavian chairs, and then that dresser and a light fixture. So, and I remember staying with Robert Kime years ago. Robert is my absolute mentor. His house in the English countryside, his kitchen, all he has in his kitchen is an Aga. And then he's got a room, you go off to the side, and that's where it's the washing up room. So now whenever I do build from scratch, or even if I'm just renovating a house, I do a washing up room. I make sure that there is a room off to the side where you take all the plates. And then you know what? You can put them in at night. Buster, please don't just pick him up. I am really get so cross with you. That's what happens. But you could just shove all the plates in that room and wait to do it in the morning. This is a very typically pretty, very English kind of a kitchen. And
yes, it is. It's lovely. So Ryan, some of the kitchens you've designed feature some really bold and really unusual light fixtures. So tell me about that. I mean, look at them. And so tell me what that brings and how you decide on it and where you find them and what that all means.
Well, whenever I'm designing a kitchen, the main design elements are the appliances, the cabinetry, and the countertops. So apart from the styling that you get to do, and with most of my kitchens, because they want it to be fully encased and not open display, the main thing I can do to really add a really bold decorative element is lighting. So I go all out with those. I call them like the jewelry of the room, like the earrings on a girl's face. I love rock crystal. That's the one in this room. And they're cut like live edge little obelisks, kind of small and big, like different sizes wrapped around the ground.
And the light just lives in this metal channel?
Yeah, so it's like an ambient light. It's like an LED and it illuminates the rock crystal. It's not your primary source of light. You definitely need to have a lot of recessed lighting throughout, which we do. But when it's on, it's so sexy. It's so sexy. It's a really pretty one. And then
So,
we have a linear above the island. That's a little bit more simplistic so that they don't compete with one another.
so the interesting thing that I have been looking at, and Allison, for you, and I know Catherine, you for sure, the dining room in my house has not been used. And I'm trying to think of what I should make it into because I don't think I'm ever going to use it. Our lives are really informal, they're very casual. And of course, we've been eating outside, which we can no longer do because it's cold. But I mean, I don't know, it looked like you had kind of a nice formal seating area in the kitchen. How are you managing all that? And what are people talking about for dining rooms?
Well, for the last 8 months now, our dining room has been my daughter's school. So, and truthfully, it works fantastic for that. And it gives her ample work surface, and she's downstairs and not in her bed. I don't know how many of you can relate to that, but the dining room really is reserved in our house for like holidays. And I do love a formal dining room. Like, I'll never not love a formal dining room for exactly that. Like, it makes it special when you use it. But for example, in our kitchen, and in this kitchen in particular, this is a couple and they sit at the corner every night for dinner. But our kitchen has like a harvest table in the middle of it. And where I'm sitting now, we use this every day, at least 3 times a day, if not more, given, snacks and, just sitting around and having coffee and whatnot. So, Catherine's been saying a lot about this idea of the kitchen as the living room. And I absolutely believe that. I think that in a way we've moved away from the great room, which I'm very grateful for. I think that, the kitchen has a purpose and a place, and it doesn't have to be like the 24-hour zone, but I do think kind of making the kitchen softer. Oh yeah, back one is mine. But yeah, here we go. So just making it a little bit more. Sorry?
This is your own house, this one?
This is our kitchen. And one of the things, this kitchen is deceptively not huge. It seems big because it's got a lot of volume, but when we were planning it, the idea of putting a permanent island in the middle was too cumbersome. It was too much for the space. And it's really worked out to be the best choice to have this table in the middle of the room. And it makes it very cozy and comfortable. And this is where we spend so much time. So
I have to say, I'm over island. I'm sitting at one right now, and I seem to do everything at my island. But if I was to do this kitchen again, or I might even rip this island out, I just think having a proper old-fashioned kitchen table, I work at even though I've got offices here, I'm here, I'm in the kitchen.
Yeah, growing up, we had a kitchen table. And I feel like so much of our design, or at least my design, is very much informed by my own personal experiences. And, I come from a big family, and all of these things kind of inform how you function in a home. And I think, very fondly back to my childhood and like the kitchen table, so much got done at that kitchen table, so having the momentum kind of tracking back to that and moving more into how do you make these kitchens way more personal and give them more character and less just like these giant blocks of cabinetry, has really become kind of an extra special way to make it unique to that particular kitchen. So, yeah.
I think one of the interesting things is that as I was thinking about writing the perfect kitchen, it was really not about how to. I could care less about the how to. That is not mine. This is actually my kitchen. But the idea is that the space is experiential. You want to go in there, you want to feel comfortable, and it's about the things you do together in the kitchen that I personally find really almost more important than anything else. How am I going to use it? How are people going to feel when they hang out either at the island? Sorry, but you can see my kitchen is really tiny. And is there a place at the kitchen table where people can just hang out? So I'm all for that. And the interesting thing was I got all done with a perfect bath, a perfect kitchen, sorry. And I looked through and I thought to myself, there is one kitchen in this entire book probably that doesn't have an island. What have we come to, right? It's
I also, to your point and to all of your points, it's the one room in every single project that, apart from, the basic trends like white's in right now or gray's in right now, it is so dependent on the client and how they live. And one example just to throw out there is like every Friday night, me and my family get together for Shabbat dinner. And right now during COVID, it's always now on the kitchen island because we don't have big Shabbats like we used to. But prior to that, it was all about the formal dining room because the grandparents would come, the aunts, the uncles, the cousins. And I had clients from my community who would ask for 14-seater dining rooms. Like it was like you were trying to furnish a dining hall in the South, And now no one cares about it anymore because like you said, all of my clients' kids are working from home and school in the dining room. And now it's all about the kitchen counter, the kitchen breakfast, the banquettes. And it's so different. It's crazy to see. And I wonder if it's ever going to go back or how long it's going to go back.
I don't know. I don't know that I'm ever going back to my office full time. I kind of like working from home.
Oh God, it's great working
There's
from home.
definitely been like a new rhythm established for sure.
Oh,
And it's
God,
not.
I hate it. I want to kill myself. I don't want to work.
You don't like it?
No, I want to go out. I'm an extrovert. I'm not an introvert. I can't stay at home all the time. It's cool for a week, for 2 weeks, but after a few months, it's like, dude, I need to get out of here.
Well, be careful. Seriously, be really careful. So, Allison, I do have a question for you. In one of the kitchens that you did, it was really dark and it had black marble. Oh, there you go. It looks like a black marble countertop and dark wood floors and almost dark teal paint. Any secrets in doing this dark kitchen? It's fabulous.
Well, so this is actually a butler's pantry and bar. So this is what I call a compression zone. And it joins the kitchen, which is behind the photographer in this picture, and the living room. And it's a really grand Georgian home in Presidio Heights. And we did a full renovation to it. And the flow of the house had the living room as a very isolated room. It was an orphaned room. So it was one way in, one way out. And when we refigured the architectural plan of the house, we needed to add certain things that weren't included in this house that was built in 1923, like a proper powder room. And like the kitchen was, a 10 by 12 room in the corner of the house. Like there were a lot of things that just didn't make sense anymore. And one of the things that we try to accomplish with our architectural planning is proper flow. This goes back to like, how are we entertaining? How, who wants to be stuck in the far corner of the living room at the Christmas party? Like, how do we make these rooms circulate? And so this actually became this passageway between the kitchen and the living room at the back of the house. And we were able to accommodate this butler's pantry, which in the kitchen, there are no upper cabinets. It's all open and super airy and bright. I don't know if there's a picture in the slide of it, but this is really where they're storing a lot of their pieces. And in the space beyond is like a wine room to the right, and then a bar with a really cool tap in the counter. And so it was like, how do we give this space a little bit of an elevated presence in between these very like bright, open, airy spaces? And I don't know, I love a dark color. It makes it dramatic. Do the ceiling, the walls, the crown, everything.
I love it. My kitchen's black.
It's
Yeah,
stunning. It's stunning.
Oh.
Well,
How
Catherine,
can you see anything?
So, Catherine, here's a question for you. I have heard lots of people say they never want to see another white kitchen. What do you say?
You know what? I somewhat agree, but do you know what? Doing a kitchen is when you're really doing a kitchen, I get so overwhelmed with there's so much going on that I always start off, I go, just let's paint it sort of white. And then if you want to change it later, let's do it. I don't know. I always think having an off-white back color as the background, it offsets everything else that's there. And for the most part, kitchens are full of so much stuff. I mean, look at this kitchen of mine. That's my second kitchen. That's not the kitchen I'm sitting in right now. It's just, and by the way, look at that fabulous, talking about having an island. That's a piece actually I bought in the Hamptons years ago. It's just, and I've made it many times over. It's counter height. I don't know what it was used before. Otis, please pick up. Come here.
I will chime in on the white kitchen because I think that there's as mentioned, I love doing a colored kitchen. Primarily, I love doing butler's pantries in very dark, compressed colors. But conversely to Catherine, I really think that even though people say they are bored and sick of the white kitchen, it is one of the most frequently requested things that we are.
I mean, I agree. It may sound boring, but at the end of the day, it's very safe. And look, like in this kitchen, we had the yellow Formica on the table, and we've got the Calder print in the background. So there's still a lot. You couldn't possibly call this a white kitchen, although the background is sort of white. But I think a lot of times, and it's a shame we couldn't have shown hundreds of different slides, but I've done cabinets, I've done yellow cabinets, I've done turquoise cabinets, so I just think it depends how much time people actually spend in a kitchen. If it's your living room as well, obviously you can't keep changing the colors of your cabinets like you can your slip covers. But I don't know, I think that you can never go wrong with white, as dull as it may be.
There are a lot of white kitchens out there, that's for sure. But it's interesting, when putting together a book, it was interesting to look at some of the kitchens. And one of the ones that I loved so much was a kitchen that Tom Shearer did with John Murray, the architect in New York. This kitchen is a bright green lacquer with matching green tile and a cork floor. It was like this amazing envelope, very much, Allison, like the butler's pantry. It was just a skinny New York kitchen, but much like that. So Ryan, talking of pantries, are you into that sort of thing? Do you like them? Are they pantries? Are they laundries? Are they just storage units? What are they?
Oh, they're butler's pantries, but I don't know why I never photographed them. And recently, these projects are still under construction, so I don't have any images to show. A lot of the pantries are now turning into second kitchens. And my clients are requesting a smaller kitchen where they actually do all of their cooking and they have their microwave and they have all of their, ugly stuff. And then the main kitchen is always on display, and it always looks like that editorially published kitchen that you want it to always feel like. So we're in LA, so there's a lot more land and more massive homes, so they could do that. I don't know if it would be something that would be as easy like on the East Coast or in San Francisco, but a lot of people here and a lot of my clients are building secondary kitchens instead of pantries, or butler's pantries, may I say.
I mean, I understand the need for that. I mean, there are times there is a little bar, which of course we don't use. I mean, we drink out on the patio and we drink wine and we're not mixing drinks. And I keep thinking that there must be another use for this bar, which has counters and sinks and all of that. But I have seen lots more opportunity for these specialty rooms.
I think it's going to get bigger and bigger, honestly. I think more people are going to request like a small chef's kitchen and then make their big kitchen their entertainer's kitchen.
Yeah, I think that's what people do. As I said, both my houses, I've got two kitchens. One is where you have someone cooking and the mess and the kind of the guts of the kitchen. And then you've got the sort of great room, kitchen, dining combination, family type room. It's a shame you don't see this. As I said, it's the guest house to the main house, which I just finished. But the other end, it's another sort of big living room with a big table. But I think that's it. And actually, even in this tiny room, you go through the door there, and I've got a sort of pantry with a second sink in it. I just think it's the idea of smelling up a room of food if you're really cooking. There's something about it. I know it sounds extremely spoiled to have two kitchens, but it's very practical if you really do cook.
That's my next one.
We've been asked with the catering kitchen. But again, these are like in the architectural programming component of our projects, where this is a family that does a lot of formal entertaining on a large scale, whether it's for corporation or for whatever reason. And the catering kitchen actually becomes a part of the actual architectural program. And we think about, like, how does the catering team enter? How do they leave? What's their flow through the house from that kitchen? So it becomes less of the, like, I'm going to keep my spindrifts and my, pretzels in this kitchen, and this is going to be, and it really becomes a part of, like, the thinking in terms of access to the patio, access to the landscape. And then once the event is complete, how do they exit the property without anyone even noticing? And so the catering kitchen is definitely something that we see as a request in terms of, like, very, like, high scale programming in terms of kitchen needs.
Interesting.
Butler's pantries are just fun. That's where you keep your silver and your depression glass and, like, have a martini and,
Yeah.
fun.
So I have some childhood memories of my grandmother's kitchen. And it didn't have an island, that is for sure. It had a table, a big table in the middle. And we, of course, this is 100 years ago, 105 actually. But we were a community of women who used to cook for holidays. I had two female cousins and one aunt, and my mother and my grandmother. And so those memories are kind of special, and they influence a little bit of the thinking around a kitchen. So do any of you have any really amazing experiential thoughts about kitchens that you had as a child?
Oh, hot toddies at Christmas time. My mom always made hot toddies on Christmas Eve. And so it's like the aroma. So we think about, like, what are the fragrances and the smell? Like, what is the experience?
What is a hot toddy? That's whiskey.
Yeah. Yes. And it smells so good. And there's this, like, glass, like, that goes on the stove and that. But my parents also had a glass of wine every night at the kitchen counter. And it did not matter during that cocktail hour of theirs, like, whatever they were drinking, whether it was wine or a martini, like, we could literally be on fire in the background, my siblings and I. It did not matter. That was, like, their sacred time. And I always think about that, like, when I'm, designing a kitchen. It's like, who is, like,
well, I think I have those memories. I think, we lived in a very drafty house on the west coast of Scotland. And literally, if you opened the front door and the back door was open, you could get swallowed up like in a vortex, but you could be taken out the back of the house. And I do remember every time that happened, literally my mother's glass of wine I could see going to one side. But yeah, but we lived very simple even back then. It was very simple. God, I think about our kitchen and the drafts. We used to have to run. It was so cold. We used to have to run from our bedroom to the bathtub. You'd have to get the courage. I don't know why it was so cold. It just was. It was just we were on the sea. And Christmases were particularly cold. But I suppose that, that's why I'm quite as feisty as I am now. All those very
Oh, yes, my God.
and also we ran out of hot water. It wasn't like we had tons of hot water, but still, our house was the house that all my friends wanted to come to, because hot water, sleeping, blankets, hot water bottles, no one really cared. We had the fun house.
Okay, Ryan, do you have some wonderful thing you'd like to share?
Oh, well, for us, it was every Hanukkah, we would be in the kitchen cooking latkes with my grandma. Passover, it was all the high holidays. We would get together in the kitchen to make seders and things like that. During the week, my mom would get really lazy, and she would always, at least once a week, go get a fully cooked rotisserie chicken from the grocery store, pretend she cooked it to make my dad happy, and pour him his wine. And she would get away with it. But then it was the high holidays where cooking would just be everyone would come. They would bake challah, they would make huge dishes. And it's funny because I'm Iranian, but I'm also Jewish. So it was a mix of this very Jewish Ashkenazi type dishes and like Persian, Middle Eastern rices and stews. So grew up with a lot of.
Smell it. It smells great. Well, I want to thank all of you for joining me this afternoon, and LCDQ for pulling themselves together to do this really interesting virtual LCDQ. It's been really wonderful. Thank you, Allison and Ryan and Catherine. Lovely to see you.
Thank you. Lovely to see
Time
you.
in London.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Next time in person. And Barbara,
Yes.
it's about time you got to France next summer. I'm going to be there all summer.
I'm on my way. I'm going to buy my ticket tomorrow.
Catherine, I'm coming too.
Please, all of you, and Alison, come as well. I'm planning a wedding. My middle son, Otis, is getting married.
Wow.
Amazing.
No, but
Congratulations.
Otis has got a great textile collection, but yeah, you're all welcome to come.
Oh, yay. We'll be there. Not to worry.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you all.